Hey y'all, now are y'all ready for part 2 to our Bitcoin mining video? Sounds like you are. Okay, great job, because I'm about to give it to you. Now, in our last video, we went over a block hash, a block header, a candidate block, a memory pool, and just exactly what a hash is and things like that. And so in this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how they put everything together to validate a transaction and actually add it onto the blockchain to keep the system running. But before we get started, welcome back to Getting Digital with Deja. Guys, before we start though, I wanted to say thank you for 201 subscribers. Woo! Me and Rocky came on here to tell you guys thank you so much. My channel is growing so fast and I'm just like so freaking like grateful, okay? He's trying to go away, but he's happy. Look at him. He's so happy because one day YouTube is going to pay the bills. Okay, thank you guys. Like, I really do appreciate your subscriptions and your comments and your views and just like everything. Like, you guys are what keep me going, okay? So like, thank you. Now, you guys, before we get started with this video for real, I want y'all to go back and watch that previous video that I just did the other day, Bitcoin mining part 1. If you don't watch that previous video, you're not going to understand a lot that I'm going to be going over in this video, because I'm not going to go over all the stuff that I went over in that video again in this video. So certain terms and things like that, you should know based on the last video, okay, you guys? Let's adjust this camera just a little bit, yeah. You should know based on the last video, okay? So it's like, I'm like a professor who's like expecting that you actually went home and took your notes and did your homework, and now you're coming back for more information. Not for me to reteach you things, okay? All right, y'all, so let's blow up this popsicle stand. Just kidding. But you guys, so in the last video, I went over the block header and all the metadata that goes into that block header. You know, you have the candidate block with the header and the body, which is the body is what holds the transactions. So now, after you have all the information in that block header, which is very important metadata, you're going to take that block header information and you're going to put it into a hash function, and that hash function is going to give you what we're going to call a block hash. Now, I understand that it's called a block hash, but that's very misleading because it's technically a block header hash, because it's not taking the information from the entire block, it's only taking the information from the block header. Okay, which is like the timestamp and all that great stuff that goes into that. And it's going to put it into this hash function. And if you guys remember from my previous video, that the hash function that is going to be used for Bitcoin is going to be SHA-256. So we're going to take that block header, we're going to put that into the hash function SHA-256, and we're going to be left with a block hash. So why are we doing all of this? Well, I have the answer for you. In order for a miner to be able to get its block added to the blockchain, it has to have a block hash that meets specific requirements that are already predetermined by the Bitcoin software. So the most important requirement for this hash is going to be the number of zeros that are going to be placed before the alphanumerical part of the hash. Okay? So these zeros are so significant to this entire mining process. Again, this is already going to be predetermined by the Bitcoin software. Now, the way that the Bitcoin software predetermines this and the way that these zeros are relevant in the mining process is because the amount of zeros represents how difficult it's going to be to solve this problem, okay? To find a match for this hash, okay, essentially. So the more zeros that you have in front of the alphanumerical part of the hash, the more difficult it's going to be, okay? The lower the threshold, the more zeros, the more difficult it's going to be. And as more miners join the network and try to solve these problems to be able to mine these Bitcoins, it's going to result in more zeros because it's going to make it even harder for them to solve it, and it's going to create even more difficulty for them to solve it. So the more miners, the more difficult it's going to be. So like I said, it's literally like a video game, you guys. Like, the more people who join the video game, the more powerful, I guess you could say, the video game gets, and more big-headed it gets. And it's just like, well, we're gonna throw even more things at you and make it even harder for somebody to actually win, because there's so many people who can create so many different I guess you can say, results to be able to win. And that's exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna make you work hard for it, okay? This is because the more leading zeros in front of the alphanumerical part means fewer solutions. So that means it's gonna be even harder. It's gonna be even harder for you to find a match because there are a smaller amount of matches that can be made, essentially. So when you have Bitcoin mining, it can literally take you from a few minutes or a few seconds to a few hours or a few days to find out the solution to this problem, or to find a match. I know I keep saying like the solution to this problem, but you guys, all right, let's pause for a second really quick and have time for a fun fact, okay? So I know I've been like, when I do my deep dive research and things like that, a lot of like crypto gurus who say they know everything about crypto will literally say that Bitcoin mining or proof of work mining is like solving a mathematical problem. That is completely wrong. There is no math that goes into this Bitcoin mining proof of work. There's no math. It's literally like a guessing game, okay? And I'm gonna go deeper into why it's considered a guessing game, but there's no math, there's no calculations, there's nothing like that. So for them to say that it's a mathematical problem, I say is very misleading, and it makes you think that you have to be really good at math to be able to do something like this. No, you just have to have a really good computer. You have to have like a fast working brain and all the software and hardware needed for this, and be connected to the network, and then that's how you can do it. So I just wanted to lead with that because they try to make it seem like crypto is so mathematical when there's literally no math that goes into this. Okay, so going back to what we were talking about before I went on my little rant, I just had to let y'all know about that, is that Bitcoin miners don't just have one attempt to find the correct hash or to create the right solution, okay, to make a match. They have unlimited amount of attempts, okay? How fast you can do those attempts and things like that all depends on like your software. Your software, your equipment, your hardware, and things like that. That would play a major role in it, but every Bitcoin miner can keep doing it until somebody else finds it. So it's just like a scavenger hunt. No matter where you look, even if it's in the wrong place, you can keep looking until somebody actually finds whatever you guys are looking for, essentially. So once somebody finds it, it's just like, okay, there's no more need for a hunt to find this thing because it's already been found. Let's move on to the next thing, okay? Now, the only reason why Bitcoin miners are able to have so many attempts is because of a nonce, which is a different field that is going to be a part of the block header, which I mentioned last video. I didn't go over it in detail because I saved it for this video, because it's so deep in detail, you guys. Like, this stuff is so technical, oh my god. But I saved it for this video because it's so much. Now, we're gonna hop back to the nonce, but let's hop to the block header for a second. So you know the block header has all that metadata that's put into it, right? You're putting all of that into a hash function, and it's going to create a single hash, which in that hash is always going to be the same exact hash because of the block header information that you put. Now, none of that information in that block header can be changed. Not the timestamp, not the transaction summary, none of that stuff can be changed because it would infringe on the blockchain. Like, it can't be changed. Now, if you keep putting that same block header through the hash function, it's going to keep giving you the same exact hash. And if the first time it doesn't work, then it's just like, how could I possibly find a new solution? That's where the nonce comes in. Now, the nonce is another field where you can put any numerical number in there and it will create a different hash, okay? It will create a hash that has a specific amount of zeros in front of it. Now, you're trying to figure out how many zeros is going to be a match. So starting off with this is really hard to explain, you guys, but I'm gonna try my best. I'm trying my best, you guys, okay? Miners do not initially just have the answer as to how many zeros are supposed to be in front of the alphanumerical part of the hash. So essentially you have what they call like a target, which is like predetermined by the Bitcoin software, and you have to like meet that target, okay? A nonce is completely separate from any of the transactions that are in the block, essentially. That nonce is literally just used for you to just keep putting in and plugging in numbers to create different hashes. That's literally the sole purpose of it. It's used for you to be able to manipulate the outcome of the hash, because you have to remember that the stuff in that block header cannot be changed, but the thing that can be changed is that nonce. And it will give you the certain amount of zeros that you need to solve this problem, and those certain amount of zeros are predetermined by the Bitcoin software network, and that is called your target. Now, if anybody wants to further explain the Bitcoin target in the comments, please, I'm begging you to do it. I'm trying my best to explain it, but it just really doesn't sound like it's making sense when I'm talking about it. But if anybody else can do that for me in the comments, I would greatly appreciate it. And I will pin your comment to the very top so that everybody else who watches this video can see it. So thank you in advance. So when trying to find a match for this hash using the nonce in the hash function, it's literally like trying to do the passcode or the combination of a padlock. So you keep doing the combination of the padlock over and over again, trying out every single number that you possibly can in every sequence that you possibly can to be able to unlock this padlock. And you have unlimited chances because it's not gonna lock on you. That's literally what they're doing when they're mining Bitcoin. That's literally what they're doing when they're putting the number into that nonce field, okay? So it's like, if you know when you type in your password wrong in like your email or something like that, and or like your iCloud account, for too many times will lock you out and you just cannot get in. No, that's not what's going to happen with this Bitcoin mining. It will literally allow you to do it as many times as your brain can take. And also comparing it to a padlock. So you know when you have a padlock, you're putting in the numbers, you can find out if it unlocks or if it doesn't unlock very quickly. That's the same thing for this Bitcoin mining. You can, with a quickness, you just put the number in there, boom, it gives you a hash, it doesn't match, boom, try again. So it's just like, it doesn't take a long time. There's not excessive loading or anything like that, or has to go through a third party or anything like that. To be able for you to see if it's a match. So that's why you can just keep doing it over and over and over and over again. And that's why so many Bitcoin miners are just doing it over and over again until they can find a match, because essentially they want to be rewarded in Bitcoin. So pause. We're about to go over that in another part of the video. I'm going to save that. So remember in my last video, I was talking about this whole transaction and just like mining and trying to figure out the solution and stuff like that. It's going to be called POW for short, or proof of work for long. Now, there are many other cryptocurrencies that use POW, which is why I'm going so in depth with Bitcoin, just to like, because that's like one of the biggest, it is the biggest cryptocurrency that uses POW. And so I want you guys to understand how that process works. Now, with POW, it's really just proof of work. You just did all that work and it proves that you got the right answer, okay, essentially. Now, when there are a surge of Bitcoin miners that join the network to be able to do some mining and to try to compete for the reward at the end and get their block added to the blockchain, if there's a surge of them that comes on there, then what the Bitcoin software network is going to do is they're going to make it harder for you to be able to solve it. Okay, so the more miners there are, the higher the difficulty is going to be to get a correct answer, which means the more zeros that are going to be put in place of that hash, okay? Now, with the increase of difficulty, if it makes miners just kind of like back away and stop trying to mine, and they're just like, no, I don't want to try to do this anymore, the Bitcoin software will lower the difficulty to be able to mine. And it's just kind of like trying to regulate the market to make sure that there aren't too many Bitcoins being mined, too much supply of Bitcoin being mined at one time, okay? They kind of want to spread it out over a period of time. Essentially, they want it to where it's just not too congested and just moving too fast and to where something could go wrong. So this whole process of changing the difficulty and things like that is known as the difficulty adjustment. And it is adjusted by the software about every 2 weeks to ensure that every 10 minutes that a new Bitcoin is going to be added to the blockchain, which means a new transaction is going to be solved and mined and things like that. So they do change the difficulty, like, you know, every so often. But that really depends on the amount of miners that are within the network, honestly. And the difficulty adjustment also takes into account the speed at which the miners are mining and placing these blocks onto the blockchain. So it will adjust the difficulty based on that factor as well. So some of y'all might be thinking, you got to be like a real nerd or something to really just want to sit around and mine Bitcoin all day. Like, what is the benefit of even doing this? Now, it's okay to be a nerd. I'm a nerd, okay? But people don't just do it because they're nerdy. They actually have rewards, okay? Which is going to be called a block reward. So when it comes to Bitcoin, when you mine and you come up with the right solution in the right match, you're going to be rewarded in Bitcoin. Doesn't that sound great? You're being rewarded in Bitcoin for adding a Bitcoin to the blockchain. And the reason why you get rewarded is because you're using so much time and energy and power to be able to guess, essentially, and your software, your computer's using so much intensity to be able to guess the right solution in the right match based on the nonce for this Bitcoin transaction to be added on the blockchain. And you're keeping the system going as a miner. You're validating all of these transactions and stuff like that and placing it on the blockchain. So you're really doing the Bitcoin software network and everything a favor by keeping everything up and running and transparent. So they're going to want to reward you for doing that. So the Bitcoin protocol establishes how much you'll be rewarded in Bitcoin. And as of April 20th, 2024, you get rewarded in Bitcoin every time a miner adds a new Bitcoin to the blockchain because they found the right solution in the right match. They will get rewarded 3.125 in Bitcoin. So that just means that if you do it right, you're going to be rewarded 3.125 in Bitcoin. Now, that's after the latest halving. I don't know how to say it, but they split it in half. So as of April 2nd of 2028, I believe, it's going to be another halving to where instead of it being you get rewarded 3.125 in Bitcoin, you'll be rewarded 1.5625 Bitcoin per block. That is going to be added on the blockchain. So that's literally just like cutting it in half. Now, I'm not sure why they're doing that. I'm assuming that they're doing that because in 2028, there possibly will be even more Bitcoin miners and even more Bitcoin transactions. So they're going to be giving out less money for it, is what I am assuming. Because before it was 3.125, it was double that, but they cut it in half. So, and you know, another fun fact, by the year of 2140, they say that all the Bitcoin in supply, you know, they have a 21 million cap to Bitcoin coins, and they think by 2140 that 21 million of those will be mined, and then that's when Bitcoin miners will not get paid at all for mining Bitcoin. Instead, they'll just be getting paid in transaction fees. So when people transact with Bitcoin, they pay a small fee to be able to pay the miners to incentivize them to continue to do their job, because like I said, they are an asset to the Bitcoin software network as a whole, because they're validating these transactions and keeping things going. So people who are using Bitcoin, there is a small little fee that they're going to be paying that goes towards the miners. Now those miners are literally going to get that money, you know, so they get paid in Bitcoin and they get paid in the fees for the transaction as well. So the person who solves it gets paid double. So I'm going to do a rundown of step by step on how it is exactly turned from a candidate block to a actual block that's being added on the blockchain, step by step. So after the transactions go into the memory pool where they are stored, before they are verified, they are then going into the candidate block, where the candidate block has two parts, which is going to be the body and the block header. Now the block header holds all that metadata that's going to be put into the hash function SHA-256 to be able to create a correct hash with a certain amount of zeros that is going to match whatever the software, Bitcoin software says it needs to be. Now, the more the zeros, the more difficult it's going to be, and usually the more the zeros, the more miners that are trying to solve this problem. Now, all of these miners are racing to be able to solve this problem by adding numbers, arbitrary or random numbers inside of the nonce field of that block. So you remember, everything in the metadata, like in the header, cannot be changed, but the only thing that can be changed is going to be that nonce, and that's what's going to be producing a different hash each time, because no matter what number you put in there, it's going to create a whole different hash. Now, whichever miner comes up with the correct hash that has the required amount of zeros in front of it, they will then add that to their file on their computer and onto their blockchain, and they will share it with the nodes that they're directly correlated with. And those nodes will then use the nonce that they used, that the miner used, and put it into their system and see if it works. And if it does work, they're going to verify it and then also add it to their file and on their blockchain. And those nodes are going to put out that information to the rest of the system, to the rest of the nodes, and those nodes are going to do the same exact thing, plug in that nonce, see if it creates the same block hash as the original did, and if it does, and when it does, they're going to also update their blockchain with it, and then it's just going to keep going. Now, I feel like I explained that so good. Now, let's not forget about the memory pool. So when all those transactions that the Bitcoin miner were trying to confirm, that memory pool that once held those transactions that were unconfirmed or fresh, they're going to be now added to the blockchain and going to be confirmed. And anything that is contradicting or conflicting to those transactions that are within that memory pool are going to be kicked out. And then the process is going to start all over again. Now, the block hash from this newly created block that we just created is going to be known as the previous block hash now. And now miners are going to go back into the memory pool, create a candidate block, and they're going to try to create a new hash, but they're going to, in the metadata for this new hash, they're using the block hash of the block that we just placed onto the blockchain, the newest block that we just placed onto the blockchain, and it just keeps going and going and going. So that block hash acts as a chain because it's linking together the previous one and the current one that they're working on together. So that's why it's called a blockchain. Essentially, the hash is a chain and the new block is a new transaction. The past block is a past transaction, and it's linked together by that hash from the previous block. So blockchain. So everything on this Bitcoin blockchain is literally linked together by past transactions, okay? Through the hash of past transactions, literally. And that's what makes it so hard to tamper with, because if you tamper with one little part of the blockchain, it's gonna screw everything up on the blockchain, and it's only gonna screw it up for yours, because everybody else in the world who has the downloaded blockchain on their node, on their software, their blockchain is going to be correct. Their blockchain history is going to be correct, and yours is not going to be correct. And in the Bitcoin, like a network, majority rules. So if like 100 nodes say it's this thing and only one node says it's this thing, that one node, they're not going to even pay attention to like what you got going on, because they're going to consider it fraud, and they're going to consider it tampered with, and it's no longer going to be legitimate. Woo! Y'all, that was a really in-depth video. I think that's one of my most in-depth videos I have ever created. Okay, you guys. But that is it today for Bitcoin mining, or proof of work mining, because it's not just for Bitcoin, it's for a lot of different cryptocurrencies that are very popular in the market. So that is it for today, you guys. But we went over Bitcoin mining and how it's added to the blockchain. But like, I think it's very important that we actually learn what the blockchain is, right? So I am going to do a deep dive inside of the blockchain on Monday. I already have a video on blockchain on my YouTube channel, but for the sake of this series, I'm just gonna create a new one, a new like updated one, since I have learned some more information along the way to share with you guys. So that will be on Monday. And if you can, you guys, I really want y'all to like go over this information. If you're really serious about learning about crypto and trading crypto and everything like that, I want y'all to really just go back and watch these videos to like let everything sink in. Because as I teach you guys, I'm like learning new stuff every single time. I have to do all this research, you guys, and I like literally learn something new every single time. And it's really fun for me. And I want this to be fun for you guys too. And the way for it to be the most fun is for you to actually fully understand it. And for you to actually fully understand it, you gotta kind of like touch up on it multiple times. I mean, hey, you might have a photographic memory or something like that, and you see it once and you're great, and I love that for you, okay? But if you don't, just, you know, listen to my video while you're driving, or, you know, like while you're just working out, or just doing anything. Honestly, I listen to podcasts and things all like that, like while I'm driving and stuff like that. So yes, yeah, so totally like I think you guys should do that. But you guys, that's it for today. And I just really want to let you guys know that I hope you guys have a wonderful and fun and blessed and safe weekend, okay? Don't get into too much trouble because you have to be back on here on Monday to listen to me talk, okay? But yes, on that note, I want to let you guys know that pretty girls can do crypto too. See you Monday.